Tropical storm depression Eta is expected to weaken as it tracks over Central America the next few days. However, there's potential it tries to regenerate this weekend as it drifts towards Cuba. This will need close watching late in the week, as it could eventually try to drift into the Gulf of Mexico next week. Colder air is still expected into the west and plains next week, although still quite warm over the east and south to counter. But after continued warmer trends, only a minor bump in demand is expected late next week as colder air spreads across the Midwest, but still not strong enough or far enough east to impress. A rather mild U.S. pattern is still currently forecast for November 15 to 20, although currently leaning warm over the eastern half of the U.S. and a touch chilly over the west. As such, the November 15 to 20 pattern currently isn't nearly as cold as needed to intimidate without much colder trends. The overnight GFS and European models again trended further milder for the November 10 to 20 period by seeing even less cold air into the U.S. They both are quite bearish until a minor bump in demand mid-next week due to colder air into the west and plains. But the pattern after for November 15 to 20 is back to being rather mild warm versus normal over the eastern part of the U.S. NatGasWeather CFS Super Ensemble says don't expect frigid maps through November and need to wait until December as red shading shows below normal HDDs or warmer versus normal. Of course, this is likely to change being a longer range model, but as of now, the CFS is not seeing much cold air east of plains for bearish biased weather. As far as details, warmer than normal conditions continue across almost the entire US, with perfect highs of 70s and 80s over the southern US, besides locally hotter 90s over the southwest. The northern US is also quite comfortable for this time of the year, with highs mostly in the 60s to lower 70s. Colder air is still expected into the west and plains next week, although the intensity of cold and coverage of sub-freezing air has decreased considerably. National demand will still increase late next week as cold air over the plains spreads across the rest of the Midwest with lows of 10s to 30s. But what continues to make the coming pattern quite bearish is warmer than normal conditions are forecast to hold over the eastern half of the U.S. November 15 to 20. As such, until more impressive cold arrives across the Midwest and East, bearish weather headwinds will continue.